Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are going to take a look at 5 cameras that play way out of their league and way out of their price range. So I'll explain. Let's get started. So the first camera I want to bring up, these are in no order. There's 5 of them. The first one is the only one that I do not have. It is the Nikon D700. It is a 12 megapixel frame. I know I can hear it now. 12 megapixels. Oh my goodness, my phone's more than that. Don't worry about this camera being 12 megapixels. It is a wonderful wedding camera. And the pixels, like I've told you guys before on my Canon R6, I have 20 megapixels. The pixels are bigger on that 20 megapixel full frame than they are on the R5. You get, I think it's 48, 45 pixels on the R5. And I get 20 on my R6, and this 12 megapixel Canon gets 20. So they're bigger megapixels. I can pick up the light. It's gonna look really good. I promise you'll love the camera. I'm not a Nikon guy myself, but I think this camera goes unnoticed sometimes. And you can get it. I got a lot of notes. I'll be referring to my notes today, so I'm just losing it up here, so I'm going to my notes. You can get this for $284 used. This search, I didn't put where, so it's probably K&H, but you can search the camera and find it for $288. It's a Nikon D700 again. Again, 12 megapixels, full frame sensor. That's the important part, full frame sensor. ISO, they say is great. You just no grain on this camera. Again, that's those small pixels on that full frame sensor. Goes up to ISO 6400. I have played with one at one time. It's been years ago. I haven't chanced, but I was impressed with it when I got my hands on it. It was a pretty cool camera. I have a problem with Nikon. I've always been with Canon. Everything's like backwards to me, so it's hard for me to work. It's kind of like going to a foreign country and driving on the wrong side of the road. I know everybody in the world drives on the wrong side of the road except for the USA. But as far as I'm concerned, everybody else drives on the wrong side of the road. So there you go. But anyway, it does 8 frames per second, which wasn't bad at its time. And it has a 21-point autofocus, which was very good for its time. I think most of the Canons at that time were still around 10 to 12. And it has an excellent viewfinder for that camera. So it's a great wedding camera if you're looking to get started in weddings and you're a Nikon guy. A Nikon D700 might be the camera you're looking for, $284. Now, my next camera, these are in no particular order, okay? My next camera is the Canon 5D Mark II. I had a hard choice between the 5D Mark II and the 5D Mark III. I think I mostly just went with the 5D Mark II because I had it in my hands more recent than I had the 5D Mark III, so I remember more about it. It is a 21 megapixel camera. The ISO goes up to 25,600. I wouldn't take it to 25,600. I'd keep it, around the 12s or 8, somewhere in there. But the color science on this camera is fantastic. That Canon 5D Mark II, it has one of the best color sciences I've ever seen of any cameras. There's one that's going to be tied with it, and you probably know which one I'm going to say it is if you guys watch the channel very often. But it is just a fantastic camera. You cannot go wrong with this camera, and you can have it for $216 at KEH. And you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with KEH. Give you a 180-day warranty, a 21-day return if you don't like it. They're great to deal with. I've dealt with them since 1983. This Canon 5D Mark II is also a full frame camera, and if I remember correctly, it uses the compact flash card, the big, thick, compact flash card. I like those cards. I like them better than the little wafer cards. They just feel more sturdy, but they have the prongs on them, and people would smash the prongs down in and would bend them, and that would be the problem. So they went with I think that's the reason they went with these new wafer cards. So the Canon 5D Mark II, 11-point autofocus, great camera, great color science. It lasts forever. It works like a beast. It's a great camera. So then our third one would be, and this is the camera you guys know I'm going to compare the color science to. This is the Canon 6D. Right there, Canon 6D. This camera has got me through a lot of weddings. 20 megapixel camera, great in low light, full frame, 20 megapixel. See how that works? Full frame, 20 megapixel. My Canon R6, full frame, 20 megapixel. There's something about 20 megapixels on full frame that works just really good right there in that low light spot. It has a Digic 5 processor in it, which is one of the best processors around. One of the other cameras on the list has that processor in it too. It goes all the way up to 25,600 ISO. I wouldn't take it above 80. I would not go above. I'd try to keep it at 6,400 or below, but you could go a little higher if you need to. The camera is just great. The only complaint I have against this camera is it only has one memory card slot. I wish it had two, but it only has one, so we'll have to deal with that. I never had a card go wrong in it, but just when you're shooting a wedding, you just like to have two card slots. There's just something about it. You like to have two. But those came along a little later than these cameras. And again, all these cameras I'm talking about are under $500, okay? So every one of these cameras, you could buy all 5 of these cameras for less than $2,500, okay? So that's an amazing deal. So we got to give and take a little bit here. Can't have everything. Now the next camera we have is a crop sensor camera. It is the Canon 70D. It is also a 20 megapixel camera, but it's on APS-C sensor, a little bit smaller. You're going to get that range. You put a 50 millimeter lens on it, you're going to get an 80 millimeter range of view, because Canon is 1.6. So if it says 50, you multiply it times 1.6. If it says 100, you multiply it times 1.6. So a 100 would be a 160, a 30 would be a 48, so on and so forth. You get the idea. So it won't be exactly as it reads on the lens. You got that multiplication of 1.6. Most other cameras are 1.5. Canon is 1.6. That little camera has great color science. That little camera is also a beast. It's right in that same class almost as the Canon 5D Mark II and the Canon R6. They're all right around the same time. Canon really had it going on then. But that camera, it really does the job. Now some of these do video, some of these don't do video. This video is for cameras for photography, so I'm not talking a whole lot about the video, just the photography end. I'll do one on hybrids later, but the Canon 70D has done a lot of work for me too. It's been in a lot of backups at a lot of weddings, and it's a great little camera, and it's got the LED on top. It and my Canon 6D both have this little LED on top, if you can see those. That and that. I love that. I love just being in the dark, being able to push a button, glance down, and see where all my settings are. They're kind of slowly doing away with that on cameras, if you haven't noticed. Even my R6 doesn't have that anymore, but that's okay. It's all on the screen. It's just in a different spot. But something else to get used to, right? That Canon 70D I just told you also has that Digic 5 Plus processor in it. So that processor really, Canon got their money worth out of that thing. And then the last camera I'm going to use is probably going to blow y'all's mind, but it's less than $500. And I say these are 5 great cameras that you could use, but everybody could use a different type of camera. The best camera for me might be useless for you, and vice versa. So, if I'm doing weddings and you're doing landscapes or whatever, that's 2 different types of cameras we could be using. So this last camera is the Lumix G85. That is a little camera. It is great to travel with. It's the second time I've owned it. I did a box opening on it the other day. It was refurbished because I had ended up selling my first one. I rebought a second one. 16 megapixel camera. And I'll put this right up against anybody who wants to challenge me to a cool little photo shoot. I'll bring my Lumix G85 and we'll do it right here near Georgia, near Atlanta somewhere. We'll see who can do the best. But yeah, it's a great little camera. If we're going to do micro 4/3, I'll bring my G9 Mark II. This G85, it does a great job. It is a great little camera. Like I said, I've had it before. 16 megapixels. Once you really get above 12 megapixels, there's just not a huge amount of difference. A lot of cropping you can do. But if you can shoot it close to being right in the first place, you won't have to crop away 75% of all your pixels. So shoot it right to begin with, and you won't have to crop all that stuff away. So the Lumix G85, again, micro 4/3, very small sensor on the inside of that. I'll show you the inside. I'll show you the sensor. You can see how small that sensor is. I like to keep my lenses and caps on here so we don't get dust everywhere. It is small and very easy to travel with. The lenses are lightweight. It's like carrying nothing, especially when you start carrying big boys like this Canon R6 right here with the frame and everything. These get heavy. That camera, by the way, is not in these 5 cameras, just saying. But anyway, one thing I love about the micro 4/3 cameras is the lens selection. Olympus lenses fit the Lumix. Lumix lenses fit the Olympus. Generic ones fit both of them. A micro four thirds lens fits a micro four thirds camera. It's amazing. The amount of lenses is just crazy that's out there. They're everywhere. You need a lens, you can find one for micro four thirds. They're everywhere. Manual focus, autofocus, you got it. Leica makes them. It's astounding how many are made. But well, guys, that is my 5 cameras that play above their game. All of them are less than $500. That last Lumix G85 can be had for $312 at KEH. That Canon 70D for $307 at Adorama. I may have left off a few of the prices. So anyway, they're all below $500, which is an excellent deal because they all came out at a lot more than $500, especially some of them. Especially my Canon 6D, it came out at a lot more than $600. But those cameras will get you done. Now, it's not the camera that's going to make the pictures great. It's you that's going to make the pictures great. That's why I was saying a while ago, I challenge you guys. If somebody wants to have a little photo shoot, I'll bring my little micro four thirds camera. You can bring your full frame. We'll stand there side by side and we'll shoot and we'll see who can notice what. During the day, not at nighttime. But yeah, anyway, these are not great for nighttime because the sensor is so small. It doesn't do well in low light. But all those, this will do 90 to 95% of everything my Canon R6 will do that is fully necessary for photography. Now, you know, new things they add that make it easier to do, that kind of stuff that you don't have to have. Yeah, these other more expensive brand new cameras will do that kind of stuff. But this will do the job. If you know how to operate a camera, you can get beautiful pictures with this Lumix G85. That is about, when did it come out? 2016? This camera been out 8, 9 years, somewhere in there. It's an old camera, but it is still good, and it still plays above its head. It's just a great little camera. Now, it does have depth from the focus on it, so it's a little, once you learn how to do it, the focusing, if you're behind the camera and you're taking pictures, focusing is not going to really be a problem. It's when you have it out here is when it likes to go crazy on the focusing on you. So this was the depth from the focus one, so you have to watch the focus on it sometimes. But other than that, it's a great little camera. Anyway, guys, if you have any questions on any cameras that you're looking at or any questions on these cameras, I'll be glad to help you out. Like I said, I own 4 of those cameras, I guess. Let's see. Well, I did own 4 of them. I own 3 of them now. I don't have my Canon 5D Mark II anymore, and I never owned the Nikon D700. So anyway, but I do have the 6D, the Canon 70D, and the Lumix G85, along with a lot of other cameras. But these are the ones that are under $500, and I thought are good for helping people get started. Anyways, I appreciate it, guys, for helping you out. Give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying our channel. Hit that subscribe button. Have a good day. Thanks.